we've been out here all day long. Started out as a welfare check. When the officers went in earlier today, they noticed some blood and thought there might be a more serious crime scene. So what we have is we recovered the deceased in the backyard. The victim was a Kaylin Blue. She's a 33-year-old female. She had been stabbed multiple times and then buried in what was a really shallow grave in a flower patch in the backyard. And so the officers were able to locate and recover her remains. There were also 2 dogs that were stabbed and killed, and they were in a garage. Our suspect is Philip Schwab, who is also a 33-year-old male. He's been arrested, and he will be booked into the county jail for first-degree murder.
Any idea why he did this?
I don't right now. I know the detectives were talking to him most of the day. I don't have a motive for you right now. It's just an incredibly tragic, incredibly violent crime. We do have him in custody. He will be in jail, and we have everyone accounted for. Very sadly, we did recover the remains of our victim in the backyard.
Any idea how long she's been there?
We think late Saturday night, early Sunday morning would have been when it occurred. Sometime after that, the dogs were killed. As far as I know right now, they both lived in that house there, yes.
And what was their relationship?
As far as I know right now, it was a boyfriend-girlfriend type relationship.
We've noticed there's been several disturbing messages on his Facebook page, several posts, multiple posts over the past 24, 48 hours. Any comment on that?
I haven't seen his Facebook page. What do you mean by disturbing messages?
Multiple messages, some saying, God forgive me, just disturbing, unusual posts.
That, we'll look into his mental state. That'll be part of the investigation to see what his mental state was at the time. It is a disturbing scene. So I think everyone that went back there was very disturbed by it. So I imagine he was as well.
When the officer showed up this morning for the welfare check, was he cooperative?
He was, yes.
And did he lead them right to the backyard, or?
The general direction. We had a really good idea where to look to find her. That's why I said earlier today we're just getting a warrant, and we had a really good idea of where to go to look.
In the backyard?
It was in the backyard, yes.
Could he face additional charges to the first-degree murder?
That'll be up to the prosecutor. That's always possible, especially with the dead animals. That'll be up to the prosecutor. Whatever is charged is ultimately the prosecutor's decision. We arrested him for the first-degree murder, and that's what he's booked into jail for. Any change to those charges, what he ends up charged with, is a decision for the prosecutor.
Is he talking to you guys?
He was during the day, yeah. Yeah, he talked to the detectives most of the day.
And did he say why or what led to this?
I don't have that information right now, no.
Do you know where the murder happened, inside, outside? Or?
Inside the house, yeah.
Inside the house.
And then took her outside to bury her in the backyard.
So he stabbed her inside the home, took her body, buried her in the background, and this was Saturday evening, night?
Late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, that time frame. So maybe she was in the ground, better part of 24 hours or so in the backyard. Didn't show up to work. Coworkers got worried. They called one of the family members. They called in for a check the welfare. The officers went to the check the welfare, got in the house, noticed blood in the house, started talking to him. They knew pretty quickly it was more than just your standard check the welfare. So they took him back to the police department, secured the house while we got the warrants to go in and search and collect the evidence we needed. And that's what most of the day was spent doing, was searching and documenting the evidence that was there for the case.
Any idea why he killed the dogs too? Were they her dogs, or?
It seems they were kind of the family dogs that lived at the house. I don't know who specifically the house they belonged to. I can't imagine why you kill anyone or anything. That's a tough one, and this is a tough one. I just can't answer that question.
Any idea if he has a criminal background?
I don't know his criminal background. I understand there's not a violent history between them. This is kind of an unusual event as far as we can tell from his behavior. But just a real strange set of circumstances, real traumatic, a tough one.
Just the two of them lived in the house?
There was another family member that also lived there, but she was not present for the last several days. She'd been out of the house. They were alone in the house when it all occurred. But there was another family member that does live there.
Is the scene now cleared for you guys, or?
Yes, we have left. We have collected everything. We have left the scene. Yes.
You've got the knife. You've got him.
They collect.
Pretty easy to investigate then?
I don't know if I'd say easy. You know, it's one of the more brutal crimes that they could look at. It's a pretty tough investigation. It's a pretty good investigation. They did a really good job. I don't know if you saw, we had the drone up, taking 3D pictures of mapping out the entire scene. They very methodically went through the whole thing, so it took a long time to do it, even though we had a really good idea of where the remains were. We wanted to make sure we get it right, because you only get one crack at it. And so it took some time to do that. So as far as, are there other people we're looking for? Is there more complexity to it about looking for someone else? It does not look like that. It was the one person involved. We got them, we got the scene, we got the evidence, and that person is in jail.
This has nothing to do with the stabbing over on Crowley, or not related?
Totally separate incidents. That stabbing was completely separate.
Did he bury the knife?
I don't know for sure. My understanding is no, and I know we got it, but I don't believe anything was buried except for our female victim. The dogs were killed at a later time, some later time, and they were killed in the garage, and we're in the garage. So the only thing buried in the backyard was our victim.
Buried with the victim?
No.
Buried somewhere else in the backyard?
The dogs were left in a garbage bin in the garage. It's where they were stabbed, and they were inside of there.
So the dogs were not buried?
Correct.
Okay, but they were in the garage?
They were in the garage. Our female victim was the only thing buried in that backyard.
And you guys did